Well, welcome to another episode of the Longevity Lounge. My name is Ben.
And I'm Caylee.
And today we have a wonderful guest, Dr. Ricarda Jansen, who is joining us from Liechtenstein. She is the head of medical affairs for the BEMER Group. She spent over 25 years in the medical device industry, and she joined BEMER because she really wanted to make a difference in improving the world's experience with medical technology.
And today we talk about the 4 pillars of longevity, recovery, health, and how BEMER can help support you for those. We talk a little bit about athletes that are using BEMER and what BEMER is up to with current research and past research. So really excited to dive into that conversation and chat with her today. So
let's get into it. Okay, so Dr. Jansen, welcome to the Longevity Lounge today.
We're so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, great. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Good morning, by the way.
Good morning. Good morning. So we want to jump right into this, right? We're here today to talk about longevity, and you've got an interesting perspective because you're coming all the way from Europe on this call here today. So tell us your perspective. You know, longevity is something that so many people all around the world have been interested in for a long time, but are you seeing different trends or levels of interest in your part of the world there in Europe compared to what we're seeing here in the US? What's your take on that?
Well, that's a good question. I think you guys in the US are way ahead of us in Europe. This is also true for other countries like Arab, for example. So longevity treatments are kind of status quo, everyday's life. They are almost as natural as going to the hairdresser. In Europe, it's quite different. We are way behind that. So you see it's omnipresent in all the newspapers, magazines, internet, everywhere. However, people are struggling a bit with what does it mean? What is it all about? And the risk that I see here is that, in particular in the newspapers and magazines, people are talking about the fancy things, infusion, high-level, costly treatments. And the basics, the 4 pillars of longevity are kind of the back seat. So that's a little tricky and also a bit dangerous, I would say. So are misled by these fancy pioneers like Brian Johnson or David Sinclair, Peter Attia. So they I think are kind of lost in this case.
Yeah, you mentioned the 4 pillars of longevity. Tell us about that. What are those 4 pillars?
The 4 pillars are the basics and very important because it's an easy start for each and everyone. It's nutrition. We know that nutrition is important. It's sports and activities. This is also not something new, but in addition, it's sleep. Sleep was very underrated in the past, even in the scientific world. Now we know how important it is. It's our regeneration tool number 1. And on top of this, it's purpose. It's being in a community. It's having a meaningful task to take care of. This is also something pretty new.
So tell me, you're the Director of Medical Affairs for BEMER, and BEMER's been talking about longevity, for decades now, right? Right at the, but before it was really a buzzword. Right now it's a buzzword, right? But it was leading the charge there. What was the early vision of BEMER in the concept of longevity here and where they show up?
Oh, before I answer that question, let me put a side note here. Longevity is not that fancy new term that we think of. It's really an old one. In fact, we had we found a study that was from 1832. Can you imagine that?
Wow.
Was talking longevity. My colleague, Professor Baunsmith, is always quoting that study when he's talking about longevity. And by the way, Robert and Carsten Bartsch, and I think most of the IBDs in North America know him. We are the trio for longevity in the European countries. So we work pretty hard on that and are dedicated to that topic. This study from 1832 is talking about longevity and is there an impact of consuming opium on longevity? Interesting task. And they found, yes, it is. It has a negative impact. So they recommended smoking tobacco instead. So this is kind of weird and showing
Well, there you go.
medical knowledge is changing over the years, right?
I'm glad
Just a
medicine
little
has
bit.
evolved. Yeah, my goodness.
No, it's so funny.
Yeah.
So it's a fancy term now. It's a buzzword, yes. But it's not that new. And you already mentioned it. We are doing this since 1998 without using that term because this is our philosophy. No matter where you are in life, young, old, having a stressful working day, or you're an athlete or whatsoever, BEMER can support you along your way and with your healthy lifestyle. That's important. This is beneficial for each and every one. And that was our philosophy from the beginning. It's not just something for people who suffer on a disease. It's really a lifestyle companion. Yeah, I think we can say that. And yeah, that was the goal from the beginning, to give people something that they can use at home to support their healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, I love that phrase, a lifestyle companion. Yeah, I really like that. So tell us, for the listeners that are dialing in here that are less familiar with BEMER, can you explain to them what the technology does, how it works?
How much time do we have?
About 50 more minutes, Dr. Jansen.
No, just do it. Let me try to summarize it. First of all, we use the technology of pulse electromagnetic fields to transfer a specifically modulated signal into the body. That's important. And this signal targets specific tissues in the body. That's the main purpose. And these are the smooth muscle cells, in particular in the smaller vessels. And this is a very universal process in the body. The small vessels take care of supplying nutrition and oxygen to the cells so they can do their job as they should. And when we are aging, or because of environmental, toxic waste, whatsoever, our lifestyle, the capability of the body is impaired somehow. So the BEMER signal can support the small vessels or the smooth muscle cells in this area to function better and stimulate them, so the blood supply is improved.
Yeah. So as a result of the improved performance in the microcirculatory system, what is the byproduct of that? What is the benefit of this magnetic field kind of helping stimulate the blood flow this way?
That's a very good question. So on first hand, we have the blood supply brings all the nutrients, the oxygen towards the cells. But on the other end, it's also removing the waste products. So it's a circle, and this is important. It's not only nutrition for the cells. We also have to get rid of the waste products, and both is part of the task of the microcirculation.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. So for someone that starts to use the BEMER, what type of benefits would you see, would you anticipate they could experience as a result of consistent use?
Oh, consistent use is really important. You nailed it. It's really important. It's not just a one-timer. The more regular you use the BEMER, the better. And it depends a little bit on the situation. Where's this person actually in their life? Are they healthy? Are they young? Are they old? So there's it could be different, but in most cases, what we hear from the users, one thing is they can sleep better. And we talked about already, this is one of the important pillars of longevity. Sleeping is so important. They fall asleep easier, and they can sleep during the night much better than before.
Yeah, that's certainly been an experience of mine, right? I've got 8 kids, right? So I've had broken sleep for about 24 years straight, right? So just as they start to sleep through the night, another one's come along, and then the cycle repeats itself. So after a while, even though now my youngest is 4, she's sleeping through the night now, which is great. But my body got used to the interruptions. So when I started using BEMER, that was a huge immediate benefit that I experienced, was an easier and more deep and restorative sleep.
We hear this a lot.
Yeah, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah, same. Not sleeping well is just the worst too. It just sets you up for a bad day.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse.
You mentioned, Ricarda, that sleep is one of the fundamental pillars of longevity. Do you want to expand on that? You mentioned there's new research and discussions on this. It's become more relevant today. Fill us in.
It was so underrated in the past. Now we know it's as important as nutrition and sports activities. It's so important for regeneration. It's our regeneration tool number one. During the night, the body is doing what the body can't do during the day. During the day, we're running, eating, thinking, whatever. But during the night, regeneration is key. So immune system is working full speed. Hormones are acting like the growth hormones. The brain is processing the day. Waste products are removed. So this is so important to regenerate, recreate energy. If this is not working, we are losing energy. And interestingly enough, you cannot just, when you're missing sleep for a certain time, you cannot keep up with this by saying, okay, on weekends I sleep longer. This is not possible. And it has an impact on long-term on the health status. It could increase the risk for cardiovascular diseases, for metabolic diseases. So there are studies out there showing that sleep quality and quantity, if this is reduced, we suffer, or the risk to suffer on these diseases is increasing dramatically. Yeah. That's one thing.
Yeah. It's interesting because we live with this circadian rhythm, right, where we should be awake during the day and sleep during the night. That's the way biology has designed us to exist, and we've existed that way throughout all of time. But society and culture and just lifestyle trends now are trying to fight that, it feels like, right? We can live 24/7, with the lights on. Sleep is for the weak, we've heard people say in the past. I think Margaret Thatcher famously lived on 4 hours sleep, and that was because she was the Iron Lady, and power, all the power to her. And what we're seeing now is actually this is it's not smart. It's not smart.
Yeah, it isn't. It isn't. And the risk of the diseases or microcirculation impairment is absolutely there. We have studies out there showing that for women, for instance, if they sleep less than 7 hours, which is recommended, this is enough to increase the risk of this impairment of the microcirculatory system. For men, it's also not only reducing the time of sleep, but also the sleep quality, how often they wake up and during the night. But for women, just sleeping less means increased risk for cardiovascular diseases and microcirculation impairment.
Wow.
Well, that seems to be like a 2-for-1 deal that I'm kind of looking at here with BEMER, right? Because if BEMER helps to improve your sleep, but it also helps to improve the function of the microcirculatory system, then you're getting a double benefit simultaneously. Am I interpreting that right?
Absolutely. That's it's not only the microcirculation we're focusing on, it's also the general health status, in particular when it comes to stress. I mean, stress is one of the reasons why a lot of people sleep not very well during night. The chronic stress, that's the key factor here. And with BEMER, just 2 times 8 minutes per day, this is enough me time to balance a bit your chronic stress. Isn't that easy? That's a biohack that's very easy. What are you doing for longevity? I just lay down on the BEMER.
Yeah, I love that because I started practicing transcendental meditation a number of years ago. I'm not as consistent at it as I should be, right? But when I practice it, it really works. It really helps. And I love being able to combine that by when I lie on the BEMER and just stay on a few minutes longer, kind of deliberately unplug, don't go on my phone, but get on my BEMER, enjoy that moment and combine that with a little bit of meditation and we're off to a great day.
Stress is not part of these pillars, but it's important. Chronic stress is a fundamental thing to or have an impact on all the other pillars. We cannot emphasize this enough. Take care of balancing your chronic stress, and this can be done by me time, yoga, you mentioned it already, meditation. I love the idea of the vago siesta. Maybe you heard about this. This is also just lay down, do nothing. Don't think about anything, no appointments, no cell phone, no nothing. Just let everything flow. And you can also sum a bit to push your vagus system or vagus nerve to have a little push for the parasympathetic nervous system, which is a little shy. And this reduces the chronic stress. Usually the sympathetic nervous system is leading, and then we are in this vicious circle. Yeah. So again, 2 times 8 minutes is a great segue into this balancing the stress thing. And of course, you can also mention this to your family members. Say, hey, these are the 2 times 8 minutes. It's just me. Go away. Yeah. I take this time for me to step out and balance my stress level.
Yeah, I love this because if I can't commit to 8 minutes twice a day for myself, then it's an immediate red flag. Something is out of balance in my life.
Totally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really important. My wife and I were talking about this a little bit the other day, where we were talking about the need for intentional mindfulness, and how when we were younger, we had no option with that. You sit in the bus on the way to school or something, you got nothing else to do. If the rain's coming down, you're just watching the drips on the window. You got nothing else. If you're eating your breakfast, you're reading the back of the cereal box, right? Yeah. But now we've got our phones that are in front of us all the time, and we're just locked into technology constantly. And so now we need to be deliberate and intentional with our self-care versus just going, that kind of fits organically into my day. We've got to make choices. And I just think 8 minutes twice a day is a simple choice. I love that it combines with a bit of mindfulness or a bit of meditation, a bit of me time. I will always do it when I've finished work at the end of the day. Yeah. Get on and I tell my wife, going to do my BEMER session now, right? And I get on and it helps because I hold a lot of tension in my neck and coming down here across my back, and I get on there and I just feel so much better, and that time is important just to emotionally detox.
Yeah, absolutely.
It takes a lot to like mentally it's really important for me to intentionally wind down at night. Yeah. And so I feel like at night I use my BEMER and I'll wind down and I'll, turn everything off. I have my little red light bulb in the corner. It just like helps me self-regulate. But just getting off your phone and just being able to think. And like you said, humming does help, as silly as it sounds. I mean, when I first started doing it, my husband's like, what are you doing in the corner over there?
Just helps you connect to the present right? And be in the moment, which is...
Totally. And it's so hard. I feel like maybe women, this is more relatable because I've talked to my husband about it too. And he's like, no, it's really easy for me to think about nothing. But for women, for some reason, it's so hard. Like I'm always thinking about something. And even if I'm trying to think about something, then I'm thinking about how I'm trying to not think about something.
Yeah. It's
funny. It's like I always, it feels this, I feel the same when I'm on this, I don't think about anything. And then I realize, my brain is starting thinking on anything. This is really the difficult part of mindfulness.
Totally.
But
it is. It just reminds me, this is a little bit off topic, but what we're talking about. So my brother, I was trying to explain to my brother-in-law years ago, this, the importance of, what you think about determines who you are. Right. And I said, look, tell me what you think about when you don't have to think, and I'll tell you what kind of person you are. Right. And he goes, I don't understand. Right. And I'm like, well, it's really pretty straightforward. Right. So I said, so what were you doing at work today? And he's like, I was painting a wall. Right. Because he's a teenager. Right. So I need to give a little bit of credit to him. He's different now. He's like, I was painting a wall. I said, well, okay, perfect example. What were you thinking about while you were painting this wall? Right. Because surely here your mind is going to be going all over the place. That's a boring job. I said, what were you thinking about? He's like, I was just thinking I'm painting a wall. Right? I was like, oh, good grief. Right? I was like,
wow, so much depth.
Yeah, I really need to pray for you right now. Right? I hope your future is good. So he's turned out great, by the way. But
it's so true, though. I feel like it really is more with men than women.
Yeah.
Like, I think women are constantly thinking about something. So being mindful and being able to like intentionally clear your brain of any thoughts is really good. It's important.
Yeah, it's a task.
Yeah.
It's a task.
It is a task.
So for people that are maybe overwhelmed with all of the information out here on longevity, what would you say would be an important starting point for someone that's going, okay, I'm 50, for example, and I've only been 50 for a couple of months, but I'm leaning into this.
He's not letting us forget it either.
Yeah, I'm getting old now. I feel it. But I'm certainly recognizing I'm becoming more mindful of my age and my mortality. And it seems more important to me now than what it did a number of years ago to show up differently and be more intentional, like we were talking about. So now it's becoming, ironically, a little bit more of a priority for people that are wanting to get started and go, gosh, there's so much in this space. You've got those 4 pillars are the fundamentals. But like you said, there's all these other unique treatments and benefits and specialties and what have you that go into this space as well. Where's a strong place to start? What would you say would be the number one most important thing to do?
Let me just turn it around with all these fancy treatments. I think they are important and we have to look into it, how they work with regard to longevity. But it's important also to know that the evidence is pretty weak related to these fancy treatments, very costly, and we don't know much. Is it really working in the human body? Most of the studies are done with yeasts or worms or mice, and it's not easy to transfer these findings to a human body. That's one thing. So in our opinion, it's also important to be a little skeptic and have a look into all these things, not take all the things for, that's the thing, I take this on and move forward, go to all these treatment sessions, spend a lot of money. This is probably not necessary. Start smart. Start with these 4 pillars and don't put your goals too high. That's one of the important things, because just because you want to do something and you are very, very motivated and start doing the marathon or whatsoever, this is not the case. It's something that you have to integrate in your daily life. You have to repeat it. It needs to become a habit. So start smart, something that fits into your daily life. What I'm always recommending is just analyze where you are right now in life. What is the most pressing issue? Is it the stress or is it nutrition? Where can you start smart and create a habit? As I said, it's taking 60 days to create a habit. So the repetition, that's the most important thing. You can think of reducing sugar or processed food. This is an important thing. Processed food has so many hidden toxic things like too much sugar or salt. If you move away from that and replace your dinner with fresh homemade food, that's a good start. Or an easy activity that you can integrate in your life. That's the thing that matters. We don't want to suffer. We want to enjoy life. That's the thing. So don't put too much pressure on you. You can always increase the level. Yes, for sure. But start smart with something that fits into your life.
Yeah, that's great counsel. Find the area that's your greatest pain point. Start there and start small.
And once it helps you, it's so much easier to continue doing it because you feel so much better. Like once you stop eating processed foods and stop eating all these things and you notice the difference, and then it's so much easier to be like, oh, I don't want to eat that because it makes me feel worse.
Yeah.
You realize this after a while when you stop eating too much sugar or sugary food or drinks, you realize how sweet they are when you return to them. And oh my goodness.
Yeah. And that's a nice reassuring message, right? Is because sometimes we go, this is just the way I am. Like who we are today is a fixed thing, and it's not. We can change, right? And I heard someone say once, I love this, he was working, I can't remember the full story, but it was a man that was working with prisoners that were responsible for some pretty horrific crimes. And he was going through these rehabilitation programs with them. And someone said to him, I think you're wasting your time. Leopards don't change their spots. And he said, yeah, well, you're right. Leopards don't change their spots, but I work with people and I see people change all the time. And I just think that's really important for us to remember as we start our longevity journey, that wherever we're coming from doesn't have to determine our future, our tomorrow, right? I think that's really important, that whatever my habits and behaviors are today, they can change, and that's okay. And I think those micro steps, there's almost a parallel here with, as we talk about microcirculation, that there are micro steps for us to take in terms of forming good habits that will set us on the right path. And again, with both, consistency is key, right? So,
and it's easy to change.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Go.
It's easy to change. It's not easy to continue being consistent, but you can wake up any day and decide you want to do something different. I don't like when people say like, oh, well, he's stuck in his ways or she's stuck in his ways. It's like, oh, you can literally change any day you want.
Yeah. I love the, have you heard of the Dickens Principle? No? So the Dickens Principle comes from the story of Ebenezer Scrooge. And the principle is this. The story that is told, we all know the story of the Christmas Carol, right? So you get three ghosts, the ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas future. Each of them come in one night to Ebenezer Scrooge, who is famously known for being a cantankerous old man that hates Christmas and doesn't like people and is wonderfully unsociable and all these horrible miserly things, right?
It's also me on Christmas, like a couple weeks before Christmas when I'm doing my shopping and wrapping my tree with lights. Yeah,
exactly. We all get into that space for a moment. But he has these three different visitations during the night. And as a result of those visitations, he wakes up a transformed man. Right, and is radically different. So the Dickens Principle is basically saying, look, when your past becomes unpleasant, you don't want to live in it. Right? When your present is uncomfortable, you want to change it. When your future is uncomfortable, you want to do something different. When all three states make you uncomfortable, you can change that fast. Right? And the story of Ebenezer Scrooge is the metaphor of that, is in reality, we can change pretty quick when we have the right lever and the right mechanism. Because what they're showing there is it's kind of psychology, kind of human psychology to go, if I'm uncomfortable right now, living in the moment, in the present, then I change time zones or time states and I'll start to live in the past and go, oh, back then it was great because, right? And I'm gonna place myself there because it's uncomfortable today. Or I might go into the future and go, but tomorrow's going to be awesome. If we just do this, it's going to be great. And it gives me an excuse to not do something right today. But when you get all three states that are unpleasant or uncomfortable or challenging to you in some way, now all of a sudden I need to move and change. And that becomes a powerful motivator then to go,
wow, yeah,
I could do something pretty quick actually.
Totally.
Yeah. So tell me, when you've mentioned a couple of times, we use BEMER twice a day. I like this principle of microcirculation, micro habits, 8 minutes twice a day. There's almost a theme running through here in kind of how we show up with BEMER, with longevity, with life, kind of with small, simple steps. What's the story behind 8 minutes twice a day?
So I mentioned already that there's this signal that we transfer into the body by using the PMF. And the signal it's not easy to explain. Let me try to make it easy. It's synchronizing the movement of the small vessels by having an impact on the smooth muscle cells that are responsible for this movement. And the signal, and this is a finding in our legacy research that the signal lasts for roughly 12 to 16 hours per day, or after you use it for 8 minutes. So it's enough when you use it twice a day for 8 minutes to come through this 24 hours circle. Wow. So that's the idea.
Yeah, so the blood flow we can see is visibly improved, and even after you've gotten off the BEMA after 8 minutes, it continues to remain improved for that time frame. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, it was trial and error at that time.
Yeah.
But obviously it's working. And so you cannot overdo it, but 8 minutes twice a day is enough.
Yeah.
Because you reach maximum benefit at that point, right? Like you can't benefit anymore from doing it more.
Yeah. Tell me, what's your observation in how different generations are approaching longevity?
You already mentioned one generation.
Yeah, because as I'm getting a little bit older, I'm starting to approach it differently. And this young whippersnapper over here might have a different
It's
approach.
really changing for young people, though, before you go, Dr. Jansen. I feel like younger people really are becoming interested in it. And I feel like definitely people that are before their 30s and even in their early 20s are starting to say, I should probably start thinking about this.
Yeah, that's a great observation. And it's absolutely true. The baby boomers, for instance, they did a lot of things in their past, not thinking about the health consequences at all, right? So, but now they are in a situation where they're still active. And I want to keep this health state for the future. They know firsthand what happened to the elderly in their families, for instance, how they suffer from diseases. The more or the older they get, the worse it was. And they don't want to be in that state in the future. They want to keep their quality of life on that high level as it is now. They want to enjoy their hobbies, their grandchildren, whatever they do, and having a high life quality, as I said. And so they are aware that they can do something, and they have the money to invest into their health. This is one group. They understand now what they can do to expand the health span as much as possible. And then you mentioned already, Caylee, the younger people. That's also interesting to see. They have a different view on health. They are they are aware of their health status all the time. They have the biomarkers at their fingertips. They're wearing all these wearables, though they know what happens to their body. And their decisions are really made, that they think of what is the health consequences when they take on a decision. What does it mean for my body? So it's not only the elderly generation or the baby boomers, it's also the younger generation. And I'm always saying it's never too late to start, but it's also never too early. That's the thing. And we see this a lot. The younger are so interested in this health things. How can they expand their health span, and how can they do something for the future?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the wearables too, because I think I've talked about this before, but I have an Oura ring, and I wear it and track my track my heart rate like after I do my BEMER sessions, and it becomes like a game to me.
Yeah.
Like it's like we've gamified, our biomarkers and looking at our heart rate and looking at, our activity scores. And I think Aura's smart to do like the score thing with it. Cause then I wake up and I'm like, oh, my sleep score was only 90, I got to get it to 95 or whatever it is. But I think younger people are starting to be more interested in their blood work, the biomarkers, like you said, and just like these different scores that they're trying to, up the ante, that I don't know that there was the technology before or really the interest, because even like my parents, I'm trying to get them excited about stuff, and they're starting to be like more excited about, biohacking, I guess. And, grandparents are just kind of, it seems like they're uninterested, but maybe, I talk to my grandma a little bit and she's just like, what?
Yeah. We are much more informed as a generation now compared to previous generations, right? There's so much education, information, technology available to us, and so much more conversation in the public space. I mean, one thing that we're seeing, certainly we've had a couple of guests on the show already that are, kind of world champion athletes, and they use BEMER in their recovery. So,
Right.
You go into the space of peak performance and really getting into the details. We do see a lot of people there across a number of different disciplines in the field of sport that use BEMER to recover better.
Yeah.
Could you maybe talk to that, Dr. Jansen, in terms of what is the experience of an athlete using BEMER for recovery? We've talked about it can improve sleep, and certainly it improves the microcirculatory system to get the blood flow doing all the right things that it needs to. From an athlete's perspective, what are they looking for when they're connecting with BEMER?
You already said it. It's the regeneration. There's a great study performed in Norway just recently. They work with women elite soccer players, and they wanted to see, is BEMER having any effect on their sleep patterns, quality and quantity of sleep? Because I mentioned it already, this is the regeneration tool number one. And for these super athletes, it's always difficult when they have this very intensive training programs, or even the tournament, the championships, the games. They cannot sleep pretty well after this game. And this is the most important time to regenerate. If they can sleep well after their exhausting game, they can go back to training much quicker. And that was the idea of the study. And Frode Moen and his team, they investigated if the BEMER has an impact on their sleep behavior. And they found significantly improved parameters. All the parameters that they measured objectively were significantly improved. And also the subjective feedback was they felt better, less muscle sore, slept better, and were able to go back to the training much quicker. So regeneration is, for the younger athletes, key. I would say that's the most important thing.
For sure. Yeah. They talked about that too. Like it has to be huge, and sleep has to be huge, but recovery as well. I know Mickey talked about that, using the BEMER after she's, having these 4 and 5 hour training days. And Billy talked about it, about he has this big win, and then he goes home and he stays up all night long because he's so wired.
Yeah.
So having the ability to kind of wind yourself down, self-regulate, and then have a good night's sleep so you can wake up in the morning and do it again has to be so important for their training.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Massive.
Yes.
That's awesome.
You've mentioned a number of different studies in relation to BEMER. Is there any study in particular that's kind of grabbed your attention and made you go either wow or given you an aha moment in the power of that technology?
This is one thing. I already mentioned the sports study, which was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool, because we tend to look more into diseases and people are suffering on some specific disease or symptoms. And now we are looking more into this improvement of the health status in general, right? Not only for sick people, but for how can we support regeneration. That's why this study was so important for me. But also all the things related to microcirculation. These were the aha moments, because the more I learn about longevity, the more I understand how important the microcirculation is also for the aging processes. So it's a little bit the other way around. What I learned from BEMER is now something that I say, oh, look at this. All things are linked together.
Yeah.
And we can use this knowledge to hopefully slow down a little bit the clock of aging, or how can I say that? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I love that approach that BEMER is taking of the proactive side of it, because everyone sleeps, right? So it would be awesome to improve everyone's sleep across the board rather than this reactive. Yeah. I think Ben mentioned in a previous episode, the ambulance down at the bottom of the hill to catch you after you fall down and they got to cart you in there. It's so much better to have it on the front end.
Yeah.
Just take care of our health before it gets bad.
Yeah, the fence at the top of the cliff versus an ambulance at the bottom.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Now, this has been so insightful, Dr. Jansen. Thank you so much for coming over and kind of working with us on this. This is it's just such an important topic for all of us because, yeah, it just impacts every living person on the planet, right? So
it's exciting times, right? We learn so much and moving away from this idea that this is carved in stone. We have to age, and the elder generation is replaced by the younger. It's not carved in stone. We can do a lot to slow down this. It's so amazing.
Yeah. Slow it down, do it better, have more fun, and enjoy the journey more.
Yeah. We can live longer. We don't have to die slower, right?
That's right. Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Yes.
Dr. Jansen, thank you so much for being with us, and we look forward to having you on future episodes.
Oh, it was a great pleasure, and thank you for having me, and I look forward to do this again in the future.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Take care.